Hey Book Dragons, I'm so glad you've joined me today on the channel. I recently finished reading the Tawny Man Trilogy by Robin Hobb. This is the third trilogy in the overall realm of the Elderlings series. And I wanted to talk to you today about why I think you should read this series. I do have to make a disclaimer here. If you have not read the Farseer Trilogy, you don't want to read this series yet. I'm not going to give spoilers in the video today, so you can still watch the video, but I don't want you to go and read this series without having read at least the Farseer Trilogy. I would recommend that you have read the Live Ship Traders Trilogy as well, because there are things that will pop up in this series that took place in the Live Ship Traders. So really this should be the third trilogy that you read. You definitely need to read this series in order to get the best experience out of it. However, if you only like following Fitz Chivalry, Farseer, and The Fool, and you don't care about other places in the realm of the Elderlings, then you can feel free to pick up this trilogy after reading Farseer, but you will be missing out. So I just wanted to make that disclaimer. I know that was a very long disclaimer, but it needed to be said nonetheless. So if you have read the Farseer Trilogy and the Live Ship Traders, you will get the most out of the Tawny Man Trilogy, and you can feel free to stick around and watch this video. If you're worried about spoilers, like I said, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I may say things from time to time that might seem like they would be spoilery just because I'm talking about certain characters or things like that, okay? So, that disclaimer is out of the way, and let's talk about what the Tawny Man Trilogy is. The Tawny Man Trilogy picks up a few decades after the Farseer Trilogy. Fitz is a middle-aged man. He is known as Tom Badgerlot to most people in the kingdom, and there's reasons why he goes under an assumed name. I won't go into those because spoilers, but if you have read the Farseer Trilogy, you know why he's going under an assumed name. He lives in a little cottage just by himself with his adopted son, Hap, and one day he gets a visit from his friend, the Fool. The Fool is also going under the assumed name of Lord Golden. He's come into great wealth, and they get wrapped up in a new adventure serving the Farseer Kingdom at Buckkeep. And this will take them to neighboring towns as well as to destinations on the other side of the world. And one of those destinations are the Out Islands, who have been at war with the Six Duchies for many a year, and they are finally coming together to try and work out some kind of agreement and truce to bring their two nations together. And Fitz and the Fool get wrapped up in it all, as they always do. And this has all the trappings of a fun fantasy adventure tale. There's love, there's betrayal, there's magic, there's dragons, there's seafaring adventures, and plenty of revelations to be had, especially for those of you who are seasoned readers from the Farseer Trilogy and Live Ship Traders. So let's talk about the strengths of this trilogy first. Number one is always the character building. There is no shadow of a doubt that Robin Hobb is one of the premier crafters of characters in all of fantasy literature. She just nails the characters and immerses you in who they are and who they want to be, who they hope to be, and who they don't want to be. And the more you learn about the characters, the more you feel a deep and resonating connection to them, like you know them as a person, as a best friend, someone you would invite over for dinner on a regular basis. That is the type of character development that Robin Hobb excels at. There is no doubt that she is just a genius at crafting character. And especially Fitz Chivalry, Farseer, but also the Fool, and even some of the minor characters you get to know really, really well throughout the tale. And it's just a mastercraft. So if you love good character development, Robin Hobb does it so well. There is magic, of course. We learn new aspects of the Farseer magic, which is called the skill. And we also learn more about the wit, which is an older magic in which people can communicate with animals and things like that. And of course, the skill is a highly sought after magic. It is well respected. And the wit is looked on disdainfully. But at this point in the story, it's starting to become somewhat acceptable within some circles. And so we get to see the play between those two and how they differ, how they're similar, sometimes how they can be used together. It's really cool to see her magic system expand and grow. And again, she's just a master at that craft, because you don't want numerous books in a series just always using the magic the same way. That gets kind of boring and tedious after a while, and it is by no means boring and tedious in this series. The Tawny Man trilogy is just full of interesting uses of the magic. There are some really strong themes in the series, especially love and loss and grief. There are times in the series when people part ways and it's painful, but it's also about learning to let go. And there's also themes explored of knowing your limits and testing those limits, but being aware of them, especially when it comes to the magic. That is really prominent in this story as well. And it also explores the consequences of living a lie. Now, there is one more that I want to just touch on briefly, and that is that it tackles the question, how far are you willing to go for those you love, or those you are betrothed to, promised to, things like that. It tackles that question in various different ways, and I just thought it was beautifully done. And one thing that I really thought was cool about the trilogy, especially the ending, is there are so many ways that I thought of that the story could go, and Robin Hobb surprised me. The last couple of chapters of this book were shocking. In a good way, but shocking nonetheless. So I thought she does those things really well. And to be honest, I didn't really find anything that I did not like about this trilogy. And that doesn't happen a whole lot. You know, usually I think of flaws, that things that could be done better, but I really didn't find anything with this trilogy. And that really made me happy, because the Farseer trilogy definitely had some flaws. There were times where I was just like, oh, this book is dragging on. But these books were so perfectly paced. I just loved the entire experience. And so I don't really have any cons for this trilogy. And I kind of wondered if Fool's Fate, the final book, was going to be my favorite book of the year. And I think it probably will be, but I don't know whether to just put the whole trilogy in as a whole as my favorite books of the year, because they really were. I just don't know which one, so I'm going to have to think on that. But I have to say, as far as my rank goes, the Tawny Man trilogy soars. It is in my top tier. I absolutely loved every single moment of it. And I buddy read this series with Danielle over at Bookcara, and I know she just really enjoyed this series as well. We both did, so I highly recommend that you read the Tawny Man trilogy. I highly recommend that you read The Realm of the Elderlings. And definitely start with the Farseer trilogy. But I used to say that the Live Ship Traders trilogy was my favorite series from The Realm of the Elderlings. But now it's moved on to Tawny Man. Tawny Man is the best series so far in the larger series. And I can't wait. I'm going to be doing the Rainwild Chronicles next year with Danielle again. And we're just really excited to read it. So Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you read the Tawny Man trilogy? Have you started your journey in the realm of the Elderlings? Let me know in the comments below. And please no spoilers for the Rainwild Chronicles and the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, because I haven't got there yet, so I would appreciate no spoilers for that. And until next time, guys, make sure you read more books. I'll talk with you soon. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to all my patrons. I really appreciate all the support you give my channel. Thank you so very much.